Okay, good evening. This is Commissioner Rothstein. As you can tell, we are virtual this evening. The intent for this public hearing, and I think this may be the first time we're doing this, is having two public hearings in one day to do the best we can, reaching out to you and getting your thoughts, your ideas, your opinions as we move forward, specifically with the residential text and map public and the maps, and we're going to get into that. So far, we've had 3 work sessions. In getting to where we are today, we had a very active public hearing session this afternoon at 1 p.m. With a lot of thoughts and ideas that came across. A lot of notes were taken. We're having this evening's session, and then we're going to recommend that we close the hearings and keep the records open for 10 days. And Ms. Linda Eisenberg will walk you through what that actually means as well. The last thing I do want to share is, well, a couple things. One, it doesn't stop here. You'll see that Commissioner Wance will not be on the screen this evening. He does have a commitment as he serves on the board, the Maryland Association of Counties, and there's a commitment that he has for today and tomorrow. But it does not mean that he will not see these public comments. These public comments will be and are being, televised, and they will be available for us to review and for you to review as well afterwards, because we can't afford the comments to stop just this evening. As we do that, we will take our notes, package them, and further our conversations with each other and also with you. We try to be receptive. We've received a lot of emails from you already. And if those are for the record, we will make sure that they are in the record and that they're there for us to continue to use and review. Last thing I want to share is it is a 3-minute time period for you to have your comments to be shared this evening. It is not a time for question and answers. So you're going to share your comments. They will be received, and then we'll move on to the other. The intent here is not to be clunky in our approach, but bear with us because this is a virtual session, and sometimes things can go awry. So just, bear with us. I applaud our IT team and our folks that put this together, Chris Swam and his folks in putting this together. I always applaud Linda and her team in planning, and the Planning and Zoning Commission that also got us to where we are today. And the last plug is there are 2 empty seats on the Planning and Zoning Commission. So those that are online tonight, along with those this afternoon, again, I applaud your efforts and your wants to be heard and be a part of our decision-making process. To be even closer to that decision-making process, I ask that you consider being on the Planning and Zoning Commission. It really does make a difference. It's where the rubber meets the road in our development of our plans and master plans and how we want as Carroll Countyans to run our county. With that, let's get moving. And if I can get Ms. Linda Eisenberg on the screen, she can walk us through the Code of Public Hearing Conduct and then hand it over to Mary Lane. Linda?
All right, good evening, everyone. Thank you for participating this evening for the second part of our public hearing regarding the the residential text as well as 2 map request changes. So hopefully everyone can see my screen. I'm just going to run through the order of this evening. So again, thank you for the introduction, Commissioner Rothstein. I'm going to go briefly over the Code of Public Hearing Conduct. Then we have a staff presentation discussing what the residential text amendments that are being proposed are, as well as the 2 by request map amendments. We will then call the hearing to order, where at that time we will receive your testimony for those that have signed up ahead of time. And then at the close of the hearing, the record will be kept open for 10 days. So if there's something that you do not get to say this evening that you'd like to send in written, please send in your testimony or comments and go to carrollrezoning.org. You can send them in via email, you can mail us in, or there's a submit comment button as well. So again, the Code of Public Hearing Conduct, a lot of this was really geared toward in-person, but again, you must register to comment. So please, if you have not registered, your name will not be called. That's to help us keep this in an orderly fashion and to know who we're receiving comment from. Comments are limited to 3 minutes and the timer will be put up on the screen. When the timer goes off, you will be permitted to finish your remarks, but not to go too much over that 3-minute time period. Statements will not be, shall relate to the modifications to chapters 155 and 158 and to the zoning map amendments. And personal matters, pending appeals and actions or statements of individuals or staff will not be appropriate topics and will not be discussed. Citizen testimony is just that. It is not a question and answer session. So that is just the brief code of conduct for the public hearing for this evening. Just a point of order that this public hearing notice that was posted in the Carroll County Times in the 2 weeks prior to the public hearing this evening, as well as press releases and sent using our Carroll Connect to notify those of the meeting this evening. So now just reviewing the general summary of text amendments, the sections of the County Code of Ordinances that are affected by the amendments are Chapter 158, which is the zoning regulation, and Chapter 155, which is the development and subdivision of land. So in Chapter 158, definitions, which are found on pages 1 through 5, and this booklet and this information is on carrollrezoning.org. So we have the complete booklet of what has been proposed for the amendments that the commissioners are hearing the public hearing on this evening testimony. So the definitions have been clarified where inexact added to accommodate new uses, modified where updates were necessary, and relocated these definitions to more appropriate sections of the code and deleted definitions that were obsolete or no longer necessary. The purposes of the 4 residential districts, which are what are being proposed for amendments for the R40,000, R20,000, R10,000, and R7500, were revised to make them consistent with land use definitions found in the 2018 Freedom Community Comprehensive Plan and the 2014, as amended in 2019, Carroll County Master Plan. No new districts were created as part of this effort. Principal uses were relocated from individual districts and reformatted into a table of uses. Significant changes to the table of uses include funeral establishments that are no longer permitted in the residential districts. Medical and dental centers are no longer permitted in the residential districts. Certain indoor and outdoor recreational facilities will require conditional use approval. Multifamily age-restricted housing is no longer allowed in the R40 and R20,000 districts. Existing uses, though, will be grandfathered in. Single-family and attached age-restricted development will now be called retirement village, and these are no longer allowed in the R40,000 district. Accessory uses, which are accessory to the primary principal use, were relocated from individual districts to a new section, and these are applicable to all 4 residential districts. Changes include codifying the regulation to allow FAL as an accessory use. The exact number allowed is based on the acreage of your particular property. Replacing the requirement for a public hearing with an affidavit signed by the applicant for family daycare and home occupations. Codifying the regulation of private stables as an accessory use. The number of animals allowed will be based on the acreage of the property. And private kennels, which is the keeping of more than 3 dogs accessory to a residence, will no longer be regulated by zoning. It will be in matter for animal control. Bulk requirements, which is the yard and height requirements were relocated from individual districts to a new section, and these are applicable to all 4 residential districts. Significant changes include the reduction in density of a retirement village from 5.8 dwelling units per acre to 3.5 dwelling units per acre, with the possibility of for more than 3.5 if a specific finding is made by the Planning Commission, and the disallowing variances from minimum lot size for a private school. Zoning administrator variance, which currently has a percentage limitation on what may be approved and required for a public hearing. This removes the percentage limitations and allows the zoning administrator to approve up to 100% of the variation from a requirement, and changes the process that requires a public hearing to the posting of a property and notification of adjoining property owners. If a hearing is requested after these notifications by a member of the public hearing will be held. And then finally, the last section, Chapter 155 for the development and subdivision of land, pertains to the cluster subdivision provisions, which were amended to remove the requirement for the submittal of a conventional site plan on which the base maximum density for the cluster subdivision is determined. Now maximum density still may not exceed the maximum allowable density for a zoning district. It will now be calculated based on plan requirements, such as stormwater management, open space, roads, and new minimum lot size requirements. Finally, there were map changes that were requested for these parcels to be consistent with their land use designations. So the purpose of the map amendment is to implement parts of the 2014 master plan and the 2018 freedom plan. 3 identified zoning maps are changing, and this incorporates 4 different properties. So map 73 is with regard to the Beatty property, and I will use the laser pointer. So the property highlighted in yellow with the interior red along Bennett Road, north of 26th and east of 32. The zoning map request is to change from industrial light I-1, which is the northern portion of the property. The request is for R20,000, and in the center of the property, commercial medium or C2. This carries over onto the next map, which is map 74. And this is the eastern portion of the Beatty property. This was industrial, and the request is for R20,000. And finally, 2 properties, map 79, are requested to move from R40,000 to R20,000. These are known as the Zabel properties, and these are south of Ridge Road. The southern portion of the property, the request is to go from conservation to R20,000, with the portion to the west of that to go from R40,000 to conservation. The change in acreage is about 5 acres, one portion 17 acres. If you can follow the highlighted portion, that has now been moved to 12 acres to the west. So that is a quick review of the proposed changes for the testimony for this evening. So with that, I would ask the control room if you could set the timer and call the speakers, and I will stop sharing my screen.
And Linda, Chris, just before you start, a couple things you shared. One is Carol Connect. So I do encourage our viewers and all, if you're not on Carol Connect, that you get hooked up to Carol Connect, and you can receive that through our webpage. The work sessions, if you have not seen those work sessions, again, they are online, and you can view those work sessions, especially the last one that occurred last week, could be valued, in some of the comments you're going to make. You're going to hear some repetitive comments. I encourage that we use our time to our advantage as we're taking the notes. If it's repetitive, let us know it's repetitive, and we can move on. Lastly, please be patient as we're moving through this virtually, doing the best we can. I promise you, I am very proud of our team and the work that they're doing. but glitches may happen. So please be patient as far as the sound along with the timers. It is 3 minutes. You'll hear a ding after the 3 minutes. Please finish your thoughts, and then we'll move on from there. Uh, I will be as lenient as I can, but I do know we have a lot of comments to be made this evening. So with that, unless there's anything from my fellow commissioners, seeing here none, Chris, why don't you start us off?
Certainly, sir. We have our first caller for this evening, which is Donald and Jean Broliar. We're unmuting now. Donald and Jean Broliar. If you're on, please speak up. Donald and Jean Broliar. All right. We'll try again. We have a new caller. Is this Donald or Jean Broliar? No. Okay, next, Brian Harves. Are you on the line? Brian Harves. Brian Harves?
Yes, sir. I'm on the line. I'm just in receive mode. I'm listening. Thank you for your time.
Okay, so you're not going to make public comment tonight. Okay, thank you. Mary Ellen Will, please. Mary Ellen Will, are you on the line? Okay. Mary Ellen Will. Next up, Victoria Dixon. Are you on the line? Victoria Dixon.
Yes, we're here.
Yeah, this is Victoria and Pete Dixon. No, we just wanted to probably repetitive ed from this afternoon at 3 o'clock, but we live in the community directly next to the Zabel property. And we would like to just go on the record to state that we're against the rezoning and also the extension of Prothero Road for the reasons of crowding. Ridge Road is already very much a challenge to make a left or right on from Brangles or Monroe. For the concerns around schools and overcrowding, it absolutely seems like that's an issue with more and more people moving into the area. And also for environmental purposes, and I think it was something close to 500 feet close to protected environmental area. So for us, that's a pretty big cause for concern as well. So those are the reasons, in short. We'll keep it brief, but those are the reasons why we are against rezoning the Zabel property and also extending Prothero Road. And thanks very much, by the way, for listening to the community.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. and Ms. Dixon.
Okay. Next caller we're looking for is Joe Grundy. If you could unmute and speak up for us. Joe Grundy, are you on the line?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, great. First of all, thank you very much for the opportunity to provide public comment. I did send a letter to the commissioners and Carroll County Planning last night, and I'm sure my comments have been heard before by the community and myself, but this is to me a very important topic for the Freedom community, and I really would like you to consider the roads, schools, sewer capacity issues, and emergency services capabilities within the Freedom area, and the voices of existing residents that have chosen to live here prior to voting on the residential text amendments and rezoning requests, which will increase residential development, allow continued increases to residential development by the conditional use for retirement villages in the R20 district. I believe the community has consistently raised valid questions and concerns, and it's clear that they want you to consider the needs and desires of existing residents living here in the community first and foremost as well. And the Freedom area is definitely going to have the greatest impact for these text changes. The 2018 Freedom Plan had a planning horizon of 30 years, and I questioned some of the decisions made during the planning process to keep the DGA very large and to remove existing homes from priority sewer connection to allow for higher density development on these undeveloped parcels. These properties were in the county and sewer master plan since 1978 to be connected, because it was understood back then we need to protect the reservoirs, we need to protect groundwater. These are on small lots. The systems are projected to last 20 or 30 years. 6 of these neighborhoods are documented in the county's own planning documents as having history of septic problems. This underscores some of the poor planning that we've seen in recent decades. The recent sewer interest survey indicated 60% of people are interested in connecting to public sewer. That change in the utility code that Commissioner Rothstein shared at his town hall allows existing residents to opt out of connecting to public sewer available through new development. This could also be considered for public sewer projects for existing homes if a private system was recently replaced. I also, question the development with areas struggling with traffic, road safety, school overcrowding issues, and a history of projects with no funding in the Freedom area. Sheriff DeWeese mentioned during the Commissioner's Town Hall the difficulties of providing adequate police services in the Freedom area as population increases. And I think that these are all important points for you to consider. Recently, I was took a senior journalism student around the Freedom area. She lives in Pikesville. She's not very familiar with Carroll County. And we went around on Sunday and she visited a lot of these older neighborhoods and was really shocked. And she's a young person. She's not as familiar with septic, but she was shocked to see several neighborhoods with homes, same lot sizes, right next to one another, one built in the 60s and 70s on septic, the adjacent home on public sewer, and that these homes were all removed for the foreseeable future. Thank you for your time, and I appreciate your efforts so far. Thank you.
Thank you, Joanne.
Next up, Dana Vetter. Dana Vetter. Dana Vetter, are you on the line? Dana Vetter. Okay. Matt Zentner. Mr. Zentner. Matt Zentner. Okay. Lisa Talbot. Is there a Lisa Talbot on the line? Okay. Next up, Michael McGarity.
Yes, I'm on. Can you hear me?
We can hear you, Michael, if you'd like to begin. Thank you.
I would. Thank you for allowing me to speak. I just want to echo the sentiments of my my fellow neighbors and other community members here in the adjoining neighborhoods around me. I live on Shailen Drive, which is just east, an adjoiner of the Zabel property, and I am very much against the change in the request for the zoning change. The roads here cannot accept the additional density that is being proposed. Marriottsville 2 is quite dangerous, as well as Ridge Road at certain times during the day. And the extension of Prothero, as well as the redirection of Ridge Road through our neighborhood, will be quite disruptive, and we are very much against it. That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Michael. Chris?
Next up, Heather McGarity. Heather McGarity. Heather McGarity, are you on the line? I believe she did speak at this afternoon's hearing. Daniel Durr. Daniel Durr, are you on the line? Daniel Durr. Okay. Gene Barker,
I'm on. Can you hear me?
we can hear you. Thank you.
Okay, good. Sorry, I'm wearing some weird speakers. I really want to commend the eloquence of Ms. Gundy and Mr. McGarity. I echo those sentiments. I don't want to go over it again. I live in the Forest Hills community. I look onto the Zabel property every day. I did thorough research before moving here 26 years ago and liked the fact that there was conservation area across the street from me. I question the text amendment that's going to take conservation land and turn it to R20,000. I think it's somewhat disingenuous to say, well, it wasn't in the right place and we're going to move it to the west. There is a reason, and the reason is there's a lot of little streams, there's a lot of animals, there's runoff, there's wells, there's lots of things that make it a viable place to keep conservation. In addition to the traffic and the school and those concerns, I also, let's go back to the Freedom Plan from 2018. The government will not attempt to fundamentally transform the community against the will of homeowners and residents. You look at my community, you look at what's proposed, it doesn't align. Growth is not being carefully managed, making the text amendments really allows the fundamental change of the character of the neighborhood. Saying that, well, it's residential is somewhat disingenuous. It's like saying Upper East Side Manhattan's just like a little farmhouse in the middle of the country. It's not the same. It's very different. There's no benefit. It doesn't align with the historical intent of the zoning for single-family neighborhoods. I completely agree with the letter that was written on October 28th by the Freedom District Citizens Association. Their points are all also extremely valid. And I'll say off the bat, too, I didn't move here to get away from everybody else. I am not anti-development. I believe in the right development, the right text amendments, the right zoning changes if they're necessary, not adding a burden onto Marriottsville 2, not adding more potential for severe accidents. Over the last 2 years, I've never been politically active. This is really spurring me. I appreciate the opportunity to speak out so many times. I really appreciate the county commissioners listening to the people who live here. There's a lot of different things going on in politics in the world these days, but I question, does, one or two or three property owners' right give them the right to basically destroy the quality of life that everybody else who owns homes around here has? You have rights to do things to your property, but when it impacts everybody else and it just doesn't make sense, then I question what the text amendments and the map changes are all about. So thank you again for the opportunity to speak. Really appreciate it, and I really hope that you give this your thoughtful consideration. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Gene. Chris?
Next caller, Daniel D. Last initial D. Daniel.
Hey. Yep. Thank you, sir. Hey, my name is Daniel. I live in Genoa Estates with my wife Kelly and our 2 kids. And I've sent in letters before, and I echo what everyone's saying against the development. 4 years ago, we moved here from California, and we're really drew to this area with the top-notch schools and public safety and kind of overall community cohesiveness. And everything's exceeded our expectations. And the current proposal of rezoning the property threatens those factors, which drew us as a family to this area. So I'm not going to go through all the points again that have already been stated, but just request you absorb all the information put forth from citizens who are speaking tonight and earlier today, whose lives will be directly impacted by the decisions you guys make. So appreciate the time. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. Chris?
Lisa Reeves. Lisa Reeves, are you on the line? Lisa Reeves. Okay, moving on. Beth Gray. Beth Gray, are you with us tonight? One more time, Beth Gray. Okay. James Millison. James Millison. Okay. Carrie Landry. Carrie Landry, are you on the line?
Yes, I'm on the line. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Thank you.
Great, thank you. I don't want to take too much time tonight, but I do want to kind of reiterate what several of my neighbors have said today. The Dixon family and the D'Antonio families, we all live on the same street that backs up to the Zabel property. And so we are strongly against the rezoning for many of the reasons that everybody has already mentioned multiple times through several calls or in-person meetings. But really, most importantly for me is traffic, environmental impacts. We are really against the extension of Prothero Road that goes, right next to me. So that affects me deeply. And I don't think we have the ability to, update these roads and safely and do it in a safe manner. So I appreciate the opportunity to speak. I did send a letter as well and have sent a second letter, a second email to everyone as well. So I really hope that you take our thoughts into consideration before this rezoning goes into place. Thank you.
Thank you, Terry. Chris?
Next up, we have Jason Conley. Jason Conley, are you on the line? Jason Conley. Okay, moving on to the next. Richard Crouch. Richard Crouch.
Yes, I'm here. Yes, I'm here.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can hear you. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Yeah, my name is Richard Crouch. I live at 2170 Morning Wind Drive. I share a property line with the back of the farm. I am definitely in opposition to the rezoning. My main concern is my family as well as all the other families in this neighborhood. If Prothero is extended to Ridge and gets access to Lazy Morning, it'll be a cut through to the new development, the Prothero Victor Hills neighborhood, as well as the Macbeth community. It will unintentionally turn our neighborhood into a main thoroughfare to Marysville 2 by people wanting to avoid Brangles and Ridge Road. With approximately 60 houses already in the Forest Hill community, the road's not large enough to support that large influx of traffic of any more houses. There are many bus stops and multiple blind spots on Forest Hill. The amount of people and kids that walk and ride their bikes in this neighborhood makes it a true safety concern. With the difficulty of trying to turn onto Marysville 2 from Forest Hill during rush hour, it'll create a traffic backup within the neighborhood, especially with the proposed straightening of Marysville 2 to eliminate any slowing of vehicles coming around a curve from Ridge, making it even harder to pull out from Forest Hill. This means even more cars on Marysville 2, a road known for excessive speed. Cars regularly drive off the sharp curve right before Arrington. My wife was at the 1 o'clock session today and referenced the fatal crash of July 2019. I actually worked for the Carroll County Roads Department, and we had to shut the road down for over 5 hours that day. I was right there when the Carroll County Sheriff's Department did their investigation to determine the vehicle was driving 65 to 70 mile an hour when lost control, rolled 2.5 times, and landed upside down the river. This on a road with a posted speed limit of 35. Cars traveling over 50 mile an hour is commonplace for Marysville 2. As I said, I work for the Roads Department. Not only very short staff now, but a lot of our veteran employees are getting ready to retire, and we are struggling to replace them. Combining with added miles and miles of new roads, this makes maintaining the county a more lengthy and difficult process, especially rings true for large storms and even more so snow events. I already have concerns about this winter season. All 5 of the current proposed developments, the Zabel Farm, the one off Bennett Road, Arrington Road, Oklahoma Road and development White Rock, which is currently underway, they all fall into the territory of one crew. And how is that going to affect snow removal during a large storm? As for us over here, what happens to us if we're unable to use our well water anymore? Who will take responsibility for that? In what way will this benefit anyone living in the current communities besides the people selling the land parcel and the developers? It won't benefit any current residents. We moved to Carroll County for a reason. It's turning the level of congestion and overcrowding as Howard County, something we wanted to get away from. So in closing, again, I'm not in favor of the rezoning. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Richard. Chris?
Next caller, David Bowersox. Is David Bowersox on the line?
I'm on the line. Can you hear me, Chris?
We can hear you. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, gentlemen. I spoke earlier today about the Zabel property. I'm going to address something about that in a second, but I didn't get to address the proposed text amendment, particularly the amendment to the cluster regulations. I'm not going to repeat the testimony you heard today. Mr. Van Kirk and Mr. Abruzzo talked to you about the staff time savings and the economic savings that go along with not having to prepare a second plan, which will never be built. But the adoption of that amendment is going to have a direct and palpable benefit to the county coffers in that you're not going to have hours of staff time devoted to chasing details to approve a plan that's never going to be built and is never intended to be built. That in turn is going to reduce county costs. You can channel that staff time into something constructive and positive and perhaps pass on a direct savings to county taxpayers. I would urge you to seriously consider the adoption of that amendment for those reasons as well as the other ones expressed earlier today. For the Zabel property, we heard a lot of information tonight. You're going to hear more. In these kind of zoning related matters, there's a lot of passion. I've been doing this for almost 40 years. It happens all the time. You've also been called on to make responsible decisions, and I've heard that several times today. A responsible decision should be based on facts. Out of the passion in these matters, you hear lots of things, lots of which you have heard and probably will hear are going to be based in speculation, fear, and innuendo of people's perception of their surroundings being changed. The staff reports that were presented to you during the staff presentations are factually based. Ms. Eisenberg and her staff should be commended for doing a thorough job with them. So I would urge you to make sure when you make this decision, it's being made on facts. Lastly, Commissioner Wentz on September 30th, talking about the Harrison Weischer property, mentioned that he's a real property rights guy and that the board is. Well, owners have property rights also. And I'd like you to keep that in mind as you consider the rezoning of the Zabel property. And thank you tonight for the opportunity to talk to you again.
Thank you, David. Chris?
I have a Bonnie Krachunas. Are you on the line, Bonnie?
Yes, can you hear me?
We can hear you. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Hey, I live on 7124 Shaylin Drive, directly next to the Zabel property, and I'm my main concern is the roads. According to the Maryland State Department of Transportation annual average daily traffic in 2020 from Liberty Road to Ridge Road to Marysville 2, there were 6,103 cars per day traveling. Prior to COVID, there were 7,301 drivers per day. Again, 7,301 cars. I drive on Marysville 2 every day. There's a river next to it. You can't widen it. Where are the studies that can show that our community and these roads can handle this new traffic from if you rezone this property? What safeguards are going to be put in place to protect the new homes and the existing homes from the amount of traffic that's going to be traveling on these roads? My son, he rides his bike to his job at Roy Rogers on Ridge Road. If you're adding 500 cars, that's not safe. If we're rerouting these cars through existing residential neighborhoods, how are we going to keep the residents and their other families safe? Kids are waiting for buses. People are walking their dogs. Adding these 500 cars is going to make a huge impact on the daily route. I'm not against development. I'm saying that studies just need to be done before we double the amount of homes that we're trying to put here to make sure our roads can handle them. Again, thank you for listening to me, and I appreciate it.
Thank you, Bonnie.
Okay.
Chris?
Next caller, Brian Koenigsmark. Brian Koenigsmark, are you on the line? Again, Brian Koenigsmark. Okay. Patrick Morinelli, are you on the line? Patrick Morinelli.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, you have 3 minutes. Thank you.
Well, first, thank you for hearing all of our comments. I'm a resident of the Forest Hills neighborhood, just to the south of the Zabel property, and just want to repeat that all the concerns that have been said by all the other community members, I stand with those concerns. I'm also against the increased zoning or the change in zoning leading to increased density and additional homes in the area. Hammering the same points again, I'm concerned about the traffic. Our neighborhood it's right along the property. It's bound to absorb some of the traffic coming in and out of these new homes. Our neighborhood, the roads it's going to make it unsafe for our families and our children and the people on the road. We don't have sidewalks. How are the surrounding communities supposed to support and deal with all this extra traffic? And it's all going to lead down to Marysville Road 2, and Marysville Road is basically the only exit point out of the southern end of the county there, and it's going to make the commute horrible for everybody. I'm also concerned about the runoff from impervious surfaces to all the new homes going into the stream, and the quality of the water, and it goes into the Patapsco River, which of course goes into Ellicott City. I think these are all concerns that should be considered, and I hope they are. Increasing the zoning seems like almost putting the cart before the horse, before the surrounding community can absorb the amount of increased homes in the area. Again, just expressing my opposition to it for the reasons that I spoke to it and all the other reasons that everybody else has brought up. Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick. Chris?
Okay, we have one more name. James Mathias, are you on the line? James Mathias. James Mathias, are you on the line? We have one more caller. Can you identify yourself? James Mathias? Commissioner, that is all of the people that have signed up.
Okay, understand that's all the people that signed up. The challenge is we got about 50% of those that signed up actually spoke. I expect some of them have dropped off. Is there, I don't want to say a way to run down the names and
Certainly.
somebody pops in, or what do you think?
Certainly. Let me go through the names that did not answer us, okay?
Thank you.
Donald and Jean Brolier, are you on the line? Mary Ellen Will. Dana Vetter. Matt Zentner. Lisa Talbot. Heather McGarity. Daniel Durr. Lisa Reeves. Beth Gray. James Millicent. Jason Conley. Brian Koenigsmark. James Mathias.
Okay, I appreciate it. If I can get all my colleagues on the online with their faces, and if there's anything from my colleagues to be said this evening, Commissioner Weaver.
I just want to thank everybody for either listening or speaking and letting us know how you feel on this. It's very important to us.
Okay. Anything else?
I will just add, I reaffirm what Commissioner Weaver said. It's very important for everyone to weigh in this process, have their concerns at the table as we make our decisions. So thank you for participating.
Okay, Roberta, did you want to pipe in?
Yes, if you want to close the public hearing and leave the record open for 10 days, that would be the normal motion at the end of a public hearing. Just wanted to remind you.
That would be my intent.
I'll make the motion that we close the public hearing and leave the record open for 10 days.
Second.
Okay, I got a motion. I got a couple of seconds. Any further discussion? Again, appreciate the community coming out with their comments, thoughts, and candid ideas moving forward. Any discussion? Seeing here none, all in favor? Been a while. Okay, 4 with 1 absence. I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
I got a motion. I got a second to adjourn. Any discussion on this? I expect to hear none. All in favor? Yeah.